without further ado, let's get started. Oh, by the way, for those who don't know me, okay, my name is Vishnu Pandey. I'm a qual engineer at HPE. I'm over in a little town called Hopkinton, Massachusetts, and this is where the marathon starts. By the way, my work address is in Andover, Massachusetts, so about an hour away. And I've been with the company, well, I guess you say on and off for about 17 years, something like that, 17, 18 years. I have no idea, something to that effect. But I have been teaching classes now for about 5 years. I think it was 2020 I started, just about 5 years. I'm not a instructor by profession, but this is something which I like to do because one, I enjoy meeting new people. Second of all, I like teaching, and third of all, it actually helps me remember Cumulus. It's not a trivial operating system. For those of you who have already used it, you can tell. All right, so let's get started with some of the good stuff. Now, I am going to have to apologize to you in advance because I originally had a larger agenda, and I just realized last night at about 11:30 or so, one of the things I really want to do, I'm not going to be able to do. And that thing I'm not going to be able to do is install from the USB. The reason being is I had put the USB into one of the switches, and it turns out, of all things, was that the switch that I put it into doesn't have a serial connection. We have 12 of them. Of course, I have a serial on 10 of them. Those are two of the ones I don't have the serial, and I didn't realize until last night. So I have the instructions on how to do the USB. We are definitely going to be doing a web server installation, and yeah. At some point, I guess in a different class, we will be doing a USB installation. Not that there's truthfully very much to it, but either case, yeah, this agenda is going to be very aggressive. We've got about 2 hours or so. We're going to try to get through as much of this as we can. I did a practice, and I managed to get through at least the first 6 topics on my own. And so I'm going to try to get through all 9. I'd like to think that we might have to leave MLAG till the next class. So this is what I think we're going to do. I think we're going to have another beginner's class in January. Okay, and then this way I don't have to rush through everything. So we'll go through we'll go through some of the good stuff today, and we'll just finish everything up in a January timeframe. That sound like a deal? Okay, I think that we got agreement for everybody. All right, excellent. Thank you. Okay, so anyways. Let me do something before we get started. I'm just going to share my screen here real quick. Okay, so this over here is Cumulus, and these are 2 consoles for 2010 switches. Now, what I want to do just before I jump into the rest of the presentation is I want to just basically re-image these guys. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a web server installation. Now, I'm going to put these commands into the chat window, but all I've done is I've copied the Cumulus binary file over to a web server. Okay, web server is just running on one of my stations. There's literally just running Windows. You can go and you can enable the web server capability. You can put the file into a certain directory, and then you can boot from it. And so these are, again, serial consoles that I have set up. These aren't SSH sessions, they're actual serial consoles. Okay, so if you notice this, I'm within Cumulus itself. You can do the Cumulus installation from ONI, which we'll be talking about, and then you could also do it from within the operating system. So all I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be re-imaging this guy. Okay, so I'm just going to copy and paste that. There we go. Okay, and once you see this downloading URL, thing and then this little timer go across, you know that it's working. So that's good. All right, let's go here and let's do the same thing to the other one as well. Nice thing about doing a web server install is that you can do a bunch of switches at one time. Okay, so these both look good. All right, wonderful. All right, so these guys are just going to be off installing the operating system, and then we're going to get on to the rest of our presentation. Now, this shouldn't take very long. I'm guessing maybe 10 minutes or so. It's not a large installation. Somebody actually wrote to me a couple of months ago and said, hey, I'm planning on going to a customer site. We have an 8-hour maintenance. How long does it take to do the operating install? Is 4 hours enough? Answer is yes. I mean, it takes literally 10 minutes to do, so not very intensive. Okay, so let's just get back to the good stuff over here. Okay, so we're going to be talking today about doing the Cumulus install. Now, all the switches that we have out there right now that ship to customers are going to have 5.6 on them. At some point, once we exhaust that inventory of 5.6 switches, which by the way are all around the world. Okay, I have absolutely no idea where our depots are located. I think there's one in Malaysia. I know there's a bunch in the US. There's one in Europe somewhere. They're all with 5.6. I have no idea how many switches we have with 5.6 on them, but this was our original operating system. My orders to all of you, when you get these switches, if you do customer deployments, please make it the very first thing you do after you power it up and you put the cables in, make sure you upgrade that NOS version from 5.6 to whatever the newest release is. In our case, as of December 18th, 2024, it is 5.10. Okay, there is a 5.11 that is on the repository. We'll be talking about the repository. Okay, please do not go to that one yet because we do not support that yet. Okay, at some point in the next few weeks or few months, probably we will. But for right now, make sure you check our Spock documents to see what version is out there. We're going to be talking about Spock as well. There's a lot of things we're going to be covering today. Okay, we're going to talk about backing up a configuration. We're going to be talking about restoring a configuration. We'll talk about how to set up a switch, how to set up the data ports. A lot of good things that we're going to be discussing. Okay, we're going to make this a very fruitful 2 hours. Okay, now there's a reason why I'm listing these SKUs. Okay, so I'm sure that a lot of you on the call right now are familiar with Onyx. So Onyx was our original Mellanox switch operating system. We have been selling these switches, and I can tell you exactly when we've been selling them. It's since May of 2017. And the reason I know that is because, as I've said during previous classes, the switches came into our lab the same week that my daughter was born. My daughter's now 7. So that was 7 years ago that we started with the Mellanox product line, the M series product line, I should say. Okay, the hardware, the 2010s, 2100s, 4600Cs, 3700s, 3700Cs that are in Onyx are also in Cumulus, but we've added another couple of switches. We added the 4700, which is a 400 gig switch, and the 3420, which is a replacement for a 2410. By the way, you notice that there's no 2410 here. That switch has long since been gone. Well, not gone in Cumulus. It's not supporting Cumulus. It's still in Onyx, but it's not in Cumulus. The 2700 is also not listed. That's available in Onyx. We have the 3700C, which is a replacement SKU. Now, take a look at these SKU codes. You see they begin with S2T. That is different from the Onyx SKUs. So these SKUs are for Cumulus only. Now, keep in mind, even though they're running Cumulus, okay, these are the same hardware components as the Onyx switches. So for those of you who are wondering, can we run Onyx on these switches? Oh, we sure can. It's the exact same hardware. All it is a SKU that denotes the operating system that's on it. Now, with that being said, should we be running a different operating system on this? If you have a switch that has an S2T in front of it, that should be running Cumulus only. That should not be running Onyx. No, under every circumstance. Okay, unfortunately, this has been a bit of a problem recently. So there was, and unfortunately, a misunderstanding that happened between some employees we have at the company and then NVIDIA. See, NVIDIA right now does provide a mechanism, a procedure, so forth, to convert your switches. So for customers who have Onyx, they do have a procedure on how to convert your switches to Cumulus, and they allow it. So there were some deployment engineers who went on site, saw that these switches had Cumulus, were not familiar with it, so they called up NVIDIA, and NVIDIA said, well, just convert it to Onyx. So they did. It's very easy to do. Actually, that same procedure that I used, you can use that procedure, just a different binary file that's running Onyx. I'm asking everybody not to do this because as a company, we do not support this conversion. At some point, I'm sure we will. I have actually no idea when. This hasn't been discussed with our management yet, or if it has, it hasn't gone down to my level yet. But if you convert a switch from Cumulus to Onyx or from Onyx to Cumulus, effectively you avoid the customer's warranty. And it will not be available again until they go back to that operating system. It's a very serious thing. So if a switch has this SKU that begins with S2T, it must, not can, it must run Cumulus on it. Okay, no exceptions to this rule. So we've had a few people who have contacted me and said that, hey, we converted the switch. Is it possible for us to get an exception from Mellanox? And the answer is no. The reason being is that when we send out a replacement, our system still has Cumulus. So if the switch is converted to Onyx, the customer is going to receive a Cumulus switch regardless. Okay, that's nothing we can do about that. I'm sure that there's a problem that will be worked out at some point. It just hasn't been worked out right now. So again, lesson I want you to take away from this, whatever operating system is on the switch, please leave that operating system on the switch. And if you upgrade with that operating system on there. Okay, hopefully there's no questions about that. Okay, now here's a chart that we have that talks about the different switches. Okay, 2010s, 2100s. You see they're both supported with Onyx and Cumulus. Same thing for 3700Cs and a 4600C. Now, a quick note about the 2010s and 2100s. These are the half-width switches. These are going to be going away sooner rather than later. Okay, this has been announced already. Basically, once we use our inventory for both Onyx and Cumulus, we're not going to be selling these anymore. I don't know exactly when that's going to be, but I have a feeling it's not too far in the distant future. Okay, 2410s. Okay, I mean, it's still supported with Onyx. It's end of life. The 2700 is also end of life, but we do still support them for existing customers. So if their switch breaks, we obviously send them replacements. For Cumulus, they are not supported. Okay, same thing for the 4700C. It's supported in Cumulus, not in Onyx. Okay, 3420, same thing, supported in Cumulus, non-Onyx. We actually had a customer case back a number of months ago where the customer had a 3420 with Onyx on it and wanted help. Luckily, the person who was taking the call had said this is not supported with Onyx. It turns out that the customer had converted it. Okay, we can't support that. They have to go back to whatever operating system came with the switch. Then we can support them. Okay. So any questions up until now? Okay, so let's see. Does Mellanox have plans for replacement half-width switches? That's from Daniel. No, they do not. They're getting out of the half-width switch business. Okay, let's see. So the question you probably have is in regards to DHCI, Daniel, I'm assuming. We don't have an answer yet for that. Aruba is going to be coming out with their own half-width switches. I know nothing about them otherwise. I mean, that's going to be the only half-widths we have available as a company. Okay, let's see. Will these SKUs with connector to power airflow? I'll have to check up on that one. Okay, let's see. So C2P. All right, we'll have to note that one down. That's actually a good question. I don't know. Okay, let's see. Do we have SFP compatibility matrix? Yeah, that's our Spock document. We'll be talking about that. Okay, so let's talk a little more about 5.6. All right, so initial Cumulus release was 5.6. I'm asking everybody, as I said at the beginning of the call, if you are setting up a new switch for a customer, very first thing you should do after you plug in the Ethernet cable for the management port is upgrade that NOS from 5.6 to whatever the newest version is. Now, very important thing, there's only one way to get from 5.6 to whatever the newest version is, and that's to do a brand new binary install. There's no exceptions to this rule. My disclaimer was, actually, let me step back and then I'll get into my disclaimer. There's a Cumulus 5.6, there's a 5.7, there's a 5.8. We do not support 5.7 and 5.8. We've never supported them, we've never qualified them, we never had a reason to. 5.6 uses a different kernel than 5.91, which is our next supported release, and then 5.10. See, 5.6.0 uses Debian 10. 5.9.1, 5.10, everything moving forward is going to be using Debian 12. My disclaimer was we didn't know about this when 5.91 came out. We had no idea this happened. We didn't actually find out until after the fact. I used a repository, which is something that is provided by NVIDIA. I used a repository and I corrupted my operating system. That's when I went to them. They said, oh, yeah, that's right. Just do a brand new install of it. So this is a requirement that we have. Okay, you have to do a brand new installation of 5.91 or 5.10, whichever one you need to install for the customer. You cannot use the repository. Now, with that being said, can you use the repository? Will it actually work if you know what the procedure is? Oh yeah, it'll absolutely move from 5.6 to 5.9.1, but it will corrupt your operating system. Even if it looks like we don't have, it looks like everything went through fine, we don't have problems, you will. There is no circumstance in which the repository upgrade will work 100%. We actually just found this out in a customer case yesterday that some people were working on. Okay, customer upgraded, used the repository, everything looked fine, but they found that, let's say, certain interfaces weren't showing up, MLAG itself wasn't working properly. Okay, there is no circumstance in which that repository will be 100% okay. It will not be. It will always be corrupted, which means that you have to do a brand new installation. Now, if you're going to a customer site, and this is a brand new power on and everything of their switches, you can come to us and you can ask us to give you that binary file, the 5.10 binary file, eventually we have 5.11 and the 5.11 binary file, and we can certainly do that. Okay, every customer is entitled to that. Now, for people who have existing configurations that are running, things are slightly more complicated. Don't ask. I mean, this is, God, I could sit there and complain for hours about this. It's a distribution agreement that we have right now, or the lack thereof. This has been going on since July of last year. Anybody from legal here? Reason why I'm asking is I still can't understand why the distribution agreement hasn't been signed, but we do not have a legal mechanism to release that binary publicly right now, which means that if a customer needs it, we're going to have to basically open a call with our support. We can provide it to them in a singular fashion. If they have 5 switches, you can upgrade all 5. You don't need 5 separate calls, but you do need to open up a case with our support, and it'll obviously be provided to you. That's our way of getting around this until an actual distribution agreement is signed. I have absolutely no idea when that's going to be, most likely when my daughter's in high school. Okay, and unfortunately, there's no exceptions to this rule. Okay, this is our way of tracking which customers received it as well. I know it's a pain. I apologize. There's nothing we can do. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, let's see. We have a question. What if we don't have access to internet? Well, I mean, you have the binary file. That's a not a black site, dark site. Black site's a CIA. Yeah, we can obviously provide the binary file to you. Okay, customer upgrade to 5.11. Oh, okay, so John, so yes, so they upgraded to 5.11. I'm assuming you use a repository. Is it going to be a support issue? Well, yes and no. We're obviously not going to reject them. This has been, unfortunately, a common problem that we've had recently where customers have upgraded user repository. Which, by the way, there's no credentials that are required for the repository. It just works. So customers, basically any customer can upgrade from any version that they want. So we're not going to reject them. However, if there is an issue that they have, which is 5.11 specific, there's nothing we can do about that. They're going to have to go to 5.10. Okay, is there a Slack channel to request? No, the request should come through support ticket.
Yep. Vishnu.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. Yes, Joe's do the proper thing and raising his hand. Sorry, Joe.
Please. No problem. You mentioned the dark site. We actually did one last week.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay, so they don't allow thumb drives, period. But the workaround.
Oh, not even their own?
Not even their own. The workaround was putting the binary on the laptop that they were using to configure the switch, and they were able to SCP it over.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. I thought, again, having worked in a dark site back 20 years or so ago, I thought you weren't allowed to bring your own hardware in.
Right, okay. And basically, the methodology is a little obscure and arcane, but I think the guy going on site, and you can talk to him directly if you know Jeff Sinkowski.
I'm not familiar with that name.
Okay, so he's out of storage and he does most of their dark sites. Okay. I believe they burned it to a DVD that they could scan The DVD was loaded to the laptop that the customer provided, and then they did SCP.
Oh my goodness! Wow, I haven't seen a DVD in years.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, they make it more difficult than it needs to be. But people doing dark sites should be aware, and Jeff is a good contact for that. We converted a bunch of his dark site scripting that we had originally provided, and converted them to NVSet commands, NV action, NVSet, what have you. And he was able to successfully deploy last week.
Very nice. Okay, well, perfect. Well, thank you for sharing that. Okay, Nidhi, by the way, a DVD is a little frisbee thing that used to go on computers back in the old day.
Yeah.
The young kids haven't seen it before.
They still use a diskette as a save icon, right?
Oh, let's not get that. Let's not go into the you're gonna drive the young kids crazy.
I know what a DVD is.
I don't know if okay, just making sure.
Back when we were using clay tablets.
Oh, jeez. Okay, all right. Go on mute.
That I don't know.
Okay, all right. Okay, you two. You can discuss things later. Go on mute. Jeez.
Okay, I'm going on mute, sir.
Tough crowd here. Okay. All right. So where was I? Oh yes. Okay. So another thing about 5.6, 591, 510, and eventually 511, they all have different command sets. Okay, what not entirely different, not 100% different, but just to give you an example, the command set in 560, okay, it was the same one that I used back in 2019, NCLU. I don't exactly remember what that stands for, but it was commands that started with net, so you do net, show, whatever. That command set was in 5.6. It was removed in 591. Now, certain commands for NView. Okay, and by the way, I use this acronym NView. It stands for NVIDIA User Experience. That's the name for their command set. So any command that you have in the newer version of Cumulus version 5, it starts with NV. So NV stands for NVIDIA. Don't ask me why I didn't know that when I thought it stands for new something, but it's NVIDIA. Which, by the way, during this presentation, if I use Mellanox and NVIDIA, they're the same thing. Okay. And NVIDIA acquired Mellanox, they acquired Cumulus, and now they're all one larger company. Okay, so NView. So all NView commands start with NV. The command set is constantly evolving, which means that they are taking certain commands that you know in 5.6 and they change them for 591, but they didn't stop there because they took some other commands that were in 5.6 and 5.91 and they changed them so they're not in 5.10. They're different in 5.10. And then, as we found out recently, they took some in 5.10, including one of my favorite commands, and they changed it for 5.11. One of the little projects we're going to have Nidhi work on, by the way, Nidhi, this is a project I have you work on at some point. We need to come up with a document that actually shows you what has changed from version to version. Okay, this is going to make our support difficult. I'm the first to admit it. The commands haven't they haven't changed 100%, so they're not. It's not something you couldn't figure out with a couple of minutes, okay? But it does make things harder for us, okay? At some point, once the command set becomes mature, we won't have to worry about this. But for right now, unfortunately, the commands are going to differ from each version. Okay, just to give you an idea. Actually, I'll show you when we get to that section. But like I said, the commands have just changed by enough to annoy me. That's how I put it best. Okay, now I'm going to get to my personal favorite question, of which I probably get about, I would say, 10 emails a week. Okay, I know you guys are all familiar with Onyx, and Onyx had a nice, pretty user interface. Okay, the GUI. There is no GUI for Cumulus. All changes must be done through CLI. There's no third-party programs you can use with the Cumulus switches that we support right now. Okay, everything has to be done through CLI. I know this is a pain. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to. It's not that hard, okay? I'm sure all of us use Linux at some point, and if we haven't, we should be using Linux. Okay, the CLI is, like I said, it is a little inconvenient at times, but it is something we're going to have to all get used to. And as far as I know, unless this has changed within the past few months, there is no plans. Cumulus has never had a GUI. I don't believe that they're ever going to have a GUI unless there's some type of valid reason for it. Okay, now, Any questions on that? I'm hoping not. I can almost guarantee I'm still going to continue to get at least 5 to 10 of these a week about that exact question. So no, there is no GUI. There's never going to be a GUI. Somebody asked, can you use the Onyx GUI to manage it? No, there's no way to do that. Okay. Now, the CLI makes things a lot easier in some senses. Okay, it makes things a lot faster than using that GUI. So that's a good thing. It is going to require practice, which is why NVIDIA provides a free simulator tool. This is actually really cool. Okay, you can just go to air.nvidia.com. Anybody can do it. Anybody who has, I'm not sure if you have to actually have an HP account, but you can go there. You have to put your mailing address in. You have to verify that your email address is real, and then they send you a little link, and you can go in and you can create a test environment, for lack of a better word, and you can power on switches. You can upgrade their firmware. You can do all these sort of things. They're simulators, of course, but it actually it's probably the best simulation tool that I have found to date. And what's really neat about it is that you can have a switch that's running a 5.6 command set, one is running a 5.91 command set, 5.10, 5.11, whatever you want. All right, and you can have this for a period of 2 weeks. At that 2 week period, it's going to become disabled and eventually deleted, but you can download the actual code for it. And then after a 2 week period, because you can't extend, I don't think they have any plans to do that right now, but you can go back, you can upload the commands, and you can create that same environment again. So you can basically have your same environment for as long as you want. Okay, so air.nvidia.com. Okay, that's the simulator tool that you can use. As as mentioned before about the warranty, this is a pretty big deal. Okay, you have to make sure that you do not install Onyx. Okay, I'm going to mention this a bunch of different times just to make sure that everybody understands. Okay, we will not be supporting under any circumstances, even if this is a production environment, a switch that is entitled for Cumulus. We're not going to be allowing or supporting it with Onyx. All right. Now, even though it's the same physical hardware, okay, they do have different support matrices, and that's where the Spock documents come in. Okay, what I encourage every person to do, I actually encourage people to do two things. One of which is that I encourage you to download Sand Toolbox if you haven't done so already, because my buddies Alex and Norbert, I saw Alex earlier in here. I don't know if I saw Norbert or not, but there are two of our best developers in the company. They're the ones who develop and maintain Sand Toolbox. You can get all the Spock documents from there. The other thing that you can do is you can go directly to the Spock page, which is over here, hpe.com storage Spock. And if you go to the lower left, it has support documents. You go in there. There's a couple of things you can download. You can download the Spock document for Onyx, the Spock document for Cumulus. Okay, this goes back to the question if someone had, do we show what transceivers are available? They are on this page, and they are different. They're different for Cumulus. They are different for Onyx. Okay, in most cases, they will, whatever works with Onyx will work with Cumulus. Okay, but no guarantee of that. Okay, the document for Cumulus is not as big as Onyx just because we haven't had an opportunity to test all the cables yet. We're getting new ones in pretty much constantly. All right, I see a question from Joe. Joe.
I'm trying to unmute here. Quick question. You might have covered this. I joined late. But I know that under no circumstance should we go from Cumulus to Onyx, but I thought on new deployments, NVIDIA was and HPE were supporting going from Onyx to
no circumstances. None.
So okay, they buy Onyx, they get Onyx.
That is correct.
They buy Cumulus, they get Cumulus.
Excellent. That's exactly correct. No, under
I just want to be in line here.
No. Sure. There was a misunderstanding, as I had mentioned in the class. There's a misunderstanding, and
that's what I said. I might have missed it.
Yeah. No. So what happened was there were some deployment engineers who called up NVIDIA. NVIDIA gave them the binary because NVIDIA as a company does support it. Okay, we do not.
No. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure it was clear to me and my team.
Yep, 100%. Please do not, under any circumstances, convert the switches.
No, not a problem.
Okay. Okay. Appreciate that, Joe.
I just want to make sure it's not a problem. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yeah.
You
The,
know, in light of recent events, let's put it that way.
Yes. No. I appreciate you bringing that up. Okay. Yeah. For the customers who were converted by our people, we are going to put together a plan to get those switches fixed because unfortunately they were moved into production. So we're going to have to move them back from Onyx to Cumulus. I don't exactly know when we're going to do that yet, but we're going to do that. Okay, so this can become a bigger deal. So please, even if the customer asks you nicely, please do not convert the switches. If the customers convert, okay, like I said, they've basically void their warranty until they go back. Okay, unfortunately with Onyx, like we don't provide the binary to them. With Cumulus, obviously they can do that. Okay, so Spock pages. I was saying there are different support matrices for each one. So there's a Spock for Cumulus, there's a Spock for Onyx. There are similar cables between them. Okay, please do not mix them up. Okay, whatever's on the Cumulus Spock document, please order those cables only. What has happened again recently for some DHCI deployments, people had rightfully taken some classes on Cumulus, but when they ordered the parts for the DHCI deployments, they ended up ordering the parts for Onyx switches, and so unfortunately, there was a couple of transceivers which didn't work when they got them. This is to be expected. Okay, we qualify things in our labs. We have myself, we have my coworker Nidhi, my coworker Barry. Okay, we work to make sure that all of these transceivers, all these cables work with the switches. If there are any issues, we work with NVIDIA to get them resolved, or we simply don't support those cables. Okay, and we do this to minimize any type of field issues. Okay, so please make sure you look at those documents. And if you have any questions, obviously you can come to us and ask. But we have that document that covers what type of adapters we support in the servers, what arrays we support, and what the minimum firmware versions are, what transceivers, what cables. As a matter of fact, you know what? You guys are all being nice. Let me go and let me just actually open up the Spock document real quick. I'm hoping everybody has seen this. Unfortunately, as I found out recently, not everybody has. And the reason why I asked why I say this is because somebody actually wrote to me and asked me if I could send them the Spock document because their group hasn't seen it. Okay. By the way, you're looking at the guy who supports this. Okay, so I'm the one who supports this Spock document. This is what it looks like. Okay, can everybody see everybody can see my screen? Good. Yeah. Okay, on the Spock document, it has a date. Okay, so the newest one that we have right now is December 8th. December 9th rather. Okay, I posted on December 8th. And by the way, this is also available in Insian Toolbox, as I had mentioned. Okay, this shows you what versions we support. Okay, so we have 5.10. So this is the newest version we released back in October. Okay, 5.91, 5.60. Okay, these are the only ones. There's no 5.11 here, but once we do qualified, everything looks good, we will put 5.11 over here. All right, even though 5.6 is listed here as being supported, please, just for my sake, go to newest one. There are some customers that have chosen to go into production with 5.6 knowing there's a newer one. When they get to that point where they want to upgrade, I don't know when that's going to be, they are going to have to bring down their production, okay, and then go to the newest available one. My thought is just start off with the newest one, and then you could use a repository from that point forward. Again, with 5.6, you cannot use a repository to go to newer versions, because that will, again, corrupt your operating system. Okay, so on the left-hand side over here, we show all the switches that we support. Keep on going down. You'll see all the switches. Okay, these are all the operating systems that we support, obviously. And then here are the various storage arrays that we support along with the minimum. So the storage firmware version that's here is the minimum supported version. I try to update this maybe once or twice a year. Okay, we test with newer ones, but obviously we don't have to have customers go to the newest one every single time with every single release of the Spock document. So we normally will keep things on there for about a year. I think that's fairly standard. Okay, these are all the adapters we support. These are all the cables that we support. Okay, and then please just notice up here that they have this broken down by the switch type. So not every cable is supported by every single switch. The 2010 is actually a fine example. I know some of the DAC cables, here we go. Some of the 25 gig DAC cables that are longer ones, like the 5 meter, those are not supported on the 2010. Okay, it's a power issue. So we support a maximum of 3 meters, I believe, for the 25 gig. Guys over here. Yeah, so 3 meters supported, 5 meters not supported the 2010s. Okay, 4700 are also one of the ones we don't support every single cable on. Okay, breakout cables, we have these in here. We have the AOC cables, and then we have optical transceivers that are here. Okay, notice the 1 gig transceiver for anybody who's doing DHCI. Okay, you're going to need these 1 gig transceivers. There are a couple of the older ones that were ordered. Unfortunately, those didn't work. Those are on Onyx. Those are not in Cumulus. The ROR41B, this 10G base T transceiver, will work at 1 gig under certain circumstances. This will not work with every device. I believe the way it's explained to me is that if you attach it to, like, let's say an ILO, it may work, usually will work. If you attach this to a 1 gig management port of, let's say, I don't know, an array or a server, it likely will not work. Okay, you are going to need this R9Q45A, very important. You're also going to need the right converter here for QSFP28 to SFP28. There is an older one that we additionally support in Onyx. It will not work in the Cumulus switches.
Yeah,
okay, very important.
Take a look at note 1. That is extremely important.
Yes, very important.
As one of them gives you SFP 28. Mm-hmm. One of them gives you SFP plus.
Yes.
So big difference between.
Huge difference. Huge difference.
Lanes don't line up.
No,
run
they
into
do
that
not.
Constantly.
Yep. We just had, again, cases this past week. Okay, we actually had 3 of them at one time that we got. Actually, I think you might have been working on that one.
Yeah, we fixed it.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, listen, you guys did a good job. But again, just to avoid future issues, please make sure that you look at this document. Okay.
Vishnu, real quick, which document is that on the website, on the Spock site? I'm on the Spock thing. Yeah.
Connectivity stream for
this is
Cumulus.
Exactly. This is the M series Spock document. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And so, Chris, this is Chris who's asking the question?
Yeah. Chris.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So there's 2 ways to get this. Okay. So I have the URL. I had posted. Did I put it in the chat window? I can always just put it up there again. All right. I'll have this slide set available to everybody after the meeting. That'll be in there. Easiest way, honestly, is to go to Google, type in HPE Spock, and it'll bring you to the Spock page. You can log in and you can download this. If you have Sand Toolbox, actually, let me just open it up real quick. Hold on. This is usually where I end up going. Okay, if I need it quick, I'll go straight to Sand Toolbox. Okay, you can actually get the newest version in there. I don't know how Alex manages to download the newest one. Sometimes I don't even send it to him. He somehow has it. I don't know how, but it's always kept up to date.
Oh, thanks, Vishnu. Yeah, I see it in the toolbox now. That's perfect. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, good. By the way, for everybody, this is Sand Toolbox. You hear me reference it. Okay, one of the greatest tools you're probably ever going to see. This is something I use every single day. If you go to Documents, you go to HPE Spock Stream Documents. Okay, and you go to M Series Ethernet Switches Cumulus OS. It'll bring up the same page. Okay, it's just a PDF file.
Excellent.
Okay, all right. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. Yeah, and by the way, the Onyx is also up here. So we have Onyx Spock document. So that stands for Single Point of Connectivity Knowledge. Yeah, I think I have that right. Okay, so this is a great, it's an absolutely great resource to have. The other thing we have, by the way,
out there too.
Aruba is out there. Yep. So this is the Aruba. Okay, if you go down to Other, what you'll see is a quick start guide. So We have one for 5.6.0. We have one for 5.9.1. We have one for 5.10. Okay, with every new version that we release of the Cumulus operating system, we're going to have another quick start guide. Okay, we'll be talking about the quick start guide in a few minutes, which, by the way, there will be a new version of the quick start guide coming out in probably the next few days. It's going to have a date on it, so it'll have a December date. Please use that one. I found that there was a typo I had in it, which I completely missed after 3 different releases. I just noticed it the other day, and so I now have that fixed. It's something with quality of service. Okay, it's a very important thing. It's just annoying enough that I missed it, so they're coming out with another version. Okay, so I'll obviously send that out to everybody once we get the finalized version. Okay. When you go to the Spock page, what you do is, as I had shown you above, you go to this little support documents in the bottom left there. Okay, you'll then have the quick start guide. You go to switches, and that'll have the Spock documents I just showed you for Cumulus and for Onyx. Okay, we've run into this with USBs. Not all the USBs on the switches are the same. The 3700 and the 2100, I believe. Yeah, 3700, 3700C. 3700C micro, it's a micro B, a micro USB type B. Okay, the 2100 is a mini USB, and then everybody else is just USB 2.0. Okay, very important. So we had somebody who went on site in Europe back a couple of months ago, and unfortunately they brought their normal thumb drive, and it just turned out it had the wrong connector because they were going for 2100s. I believe the 2100 they were setting up. Okay, please be aware of that. This has come up a couple of times before. Okay, so if you are a deployment engineer going on site, you're going to make sure you have a couple of different types of USBs, or one of those I call them the USB Swiss Army knives, the ones that have the multiple connectors on them. Those are pretty neat. Either of those will suffice, obviously. Okay. All right. The other thing about the repository. So I've mentioned that repository. This is something that's not maintained by us. This is maintained by NVIDIA. The repository will not stop a customer from going from whatever version they are at right now to whatever the newest version is. The only way to stop that is it's your responsibility. There's a file that you have to go into, and we're going to be talking about this. There is a file that you have to go into. You have to modify it, and then you can upgrade to whatever the proposed version is. Okay, we're going to be talking about that. You can only go forward 2 versions. So if you're 5.6, obviously you have to do a brand new installation. That'll get you to 5.9.1. From 5.9.1, you can go, because it's 5.9, you can go to eventually 5.11 once we support it. But if there's a 5.12, you can't go from 5.9 to 5.12. Well, you can. The repository won't stop you, but you're not supposed to. The messaging we got from NVIDIA is that you should only go in 2 versions. That's what they recommend. In most cases, you can upgrade just fine. You're not going to see any problems, but this is their recommendation. Okay, and from 5.9 to a 5.11, if you're at 5.9.1 and there's a 5.9.3 that eventually comes out, you can go from 5.9.1 to 5.9.3, but not to 5.9.4. It's just 2 versions. That's what their rule is. Okay, now the other thing about these Cumulus versions, which is going to be confusing, is that there's some that are major versions, some that are minor versions. 5.6, 5.10, the ones we support right now, those are minor versions. Those are short-term versions. 5.9.1 is a major version, which is why you see a 5.9.1 and a 5.9.2, eventually 5.9.3. 5.11 that's coming out is also going to be a major version. So there's going to be 5.11.1, 5.11.2. As a company, we have the option of supporting those newer releases. Okay, I don't personally find a reason to do that. So we're going to be going just basically forward. Okay, we don't have enough test environments to be able to qualify every version that they have, which is why, again, it's important to look at that Spock document. Okay, people have said to us, can I install 5.9.2? And I mean, the answer is you can install it. We've never qualified it. So if there's any issues that are found, we can't support those. Okay, that's basically what we do with customers, is that customer can go whatever version they want, but it becomes the best effort from us. If there's an issue they're having with a transceiver, let's just say, and they're at 5.11, we could say to them that we haven't qualified this transceiver. I'm not sure what to tell you. It works with 510. Okay, it's on our document here at 510. 511, this becomes your responsibility, not ours. If you go down to 510, it doesn't work. Now that's something we could take a look at. Okay, thankfully our lab issues have been fairly minimal with the transceivers and cables and so forth. Okay, but there are certain transceivers we have had to remove because they simply don't work with some of the newer versions. There's actually a transceiver we removed fairly recently for just that reason. There was an issue with it, and so we weren't able to get a Cumulus fix, and so we just had to remove from our Spock document. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. Okay, now I talked to you guys about that USB update. I wanted to show you guys how to do it. Unfortunately, like I said, I put the USB into a switch that doesn't have a console on it. I didn't realize until last night. So this is the procedure. This is available in the Quick Start guide. I will obviously have another session at some point where I can show this. I mean, the procedure hasn't changed. It's the same procedure that we used years ago. Okay, this works for both Cumulus and Onyx. Nothing particularly special about it. Okay, I mean, it's just you get into ONI, you can wipe out the drive and then put the new version on. That's really all there is to it. Important thing, make sure the file that you get came from us, not from Cumulus. I don't think there is a difference between them, but there have been suspect files that have come out. Okay, I don't know if they weren't copied correctly or what it was, but there have been certain files that I've taken a look at and I said, wait a second, that doesn't seem like the same file size as what I have. Okay, and ours, again, was given to us by NVIDIA. So I don't know where certain files have come from. People said they've downloaded them from the Cumulus website. I've never gone to look. I don't personally care enough. But if you're going to be doing an updated customer site, please get the file from us. Okay, log a case. We'll put together a Dropbox with the file for you. Okay, this is the web server commands that I had mentioned to you earlier, or I'd shown you earlier. Okay, I mean, this is all, again, all available in the Quick Start guide. I'll put them into chat window during our next break. Okay. Yes, sir.
Got my hand up. You didn't say.
Oh, sorry about that. I was ignoring you, Mike.
Going back on that install, I had heard from someone that there are some file names that you can name the binary file on the thumb drive, and if you select install, Grub will go out and probe and find that file name and automatically do the upgrade rather than having to do the make dir and all that. Is that true?
That is true. Okay.
I sent you email on it, but it's too late.
Yeah, it absolutely is true. Okay, the reason why I don't like doing that is because you take away the version number. And so you can't identify what version is on that file. That's the only reason. But yes, that holds, as a matter of fact, there's not just one, there's a bunch of them. So when you first go on to ONI, there's be a bunch of scrolling file names. What it's doing is it's looking for that particular file name. I don't even remember what any of them are off the top of my head, but there's like about 10 different ones that you could use. So yes, that is a correct statement. I just tend to shy away from it. I prefer to do it the manual way. My own personal preference.
Okay, sorry. So just to be clear, that procedure is correct, right?
What procedure?
Because I have done it that way and it has worked perfectly. So I just want to be sure that it's a valid procedure, right?
The one that's on screen right now?
No, the one which we download the binary image and then we rename it to one.
Oh yeah, no. That's 100%. That's 100%. The only
There's
reason
a couple of them in chat.
Yeah.
It's probably fine as long as each time you do an install, you do a fresh copy of the file that you actually want and don't rely on what's there because you don't know what version it is.
Therein lies the problem, Mike. That's the reason why I don't like doing this. So one, it does work. Trust me on this. Okay, what you're doing does work. It's just that without that file name being there, I just lose track of what version I'm installing. That's my only thing. So yeah, but otherwise no. The procedure that we've described, that Mike's described, that's 100% valid.
Okay,
if it works, it
thank
works.
You. Thank you so much.
Okay, sure, no problem. Okay, when you do a new DHCI deployment document, Joe, I don't maintain the DHCI document. Those are the DHCI guys. So I actually had a meeting with them back last week. They are working on it right now. So hopefully, relatively soon, we should have something. I don't know what sections it's going to include.
Yeah, I mean, we get peer persistence occasionally, and we have a method that we use, which seems to have been adopted by Nimble later.
Okay.
So I just,
okay,
just putting it out there. People are going to see.
Oh, no, understood. I've never used peer persistence, so I don't know much about it.
It's fun. It's usually linked by long distance transceivers, 10K plus or 40K.
Sure. No, I leave that to the smart guys like you.
I'll get you back for that.
All right. Juan, do you still have a question, or are you all squared away?
Yeah, sorry, I just forgot to
put
down my hand.
Okay, no problem. Okay, let's see. For USB installs, does the USB FAT with XFAT FAT32? Oh, FAT32 works. No, but that's FAT32 was actually how I format my my thumb drive. So yes, FAT32 will work.
And XFAT will not.
I don't think it does. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Actually, funny you should say. Yeah, I don't believe XFAT.
Mike and I can guarantee XFAT will not.
Okay. I guess I've never tried it before. FAT32, I know for a fact does work, because that's again what I use. Okay. Good questions. All right. So let's see what are we doing. Okay. So I'm not going to talk too much about this. Okay. What happens in repository is used to upgrade 5.6. Okay. You're corrupted your operating system. There's no other way around it. Even if it looks good, it's corrupted. Okay, we've had to deal with this on customer cases. It is possible to recover. You do not need a new switch. All you need to do is just go into ONI. You can wipe out the SSD and just reinstall the operating system. Under very rare circumstances, I think we have seen one, maybe two so far. Okay, during this process, the SSD itself simply starts giving out errors. Okay, I'm not sure what to say. I mean, that just means the switch is bad. Okay, but yeah, this happened one time, I think, when we first started selling the switches, and I think that was just simply an SSD issue that they were having, and I think it may have happened recently. I think it happened in one of our customer cases last week, but I don't know that for a fact. Okay, it is possible to recover. Okay, what you're going to see is the switch is going to end up like kind of just constantly rebooting itself. What you have to do is just power cycle the switch, get to the ONI menu, and then just wipe out the operating system. If you have it on a thumb drive or on a web server, just reinstall it, and you should be good to go. I mean, it really is like a 10-minute recovery. It's really not that bad. Okay, I think I might just put together a procedure on this because it has come up enough times. Chan, why don't you and I work on that? I think this might be something that people could benefit from. But just the thing I want you all to walk away from is that it is possible to recover from a corrupted operating system.
No, we already have the customer advisory for that one.
Do we have an actual procedure and everything, or like a step-by-step?
Yeah. In the customer advisory, we have several methods to recover.
Oh, okay. I thought we could put together like a document with pictures and everything. If you already have that, then great, even better.
Yeah. Let me post the customer advisory in the chat.
Good. Okay, perfect. All right, so just another couple of minutes, guys, and then we're going to be getting into the actual command set. So just bear with me for about another couple of minutes. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about NView itself. All right, so as we have mentioned before, NView stands for NView. It stands for NVIDIA User Experience. This is the command set that we have moving forward. With the switches, it is possible to use Linux commands, your standard everyday Linux commands, to modify the switch. I do not recommend that. I recommend that all customers utilize the NView, or as I call it, the NV command set. There is a hierarchy, which means that if you're using Linux commands and then you start using the NView commands will take precedence. All right, you can use Linux commands or NView commands. You cannot use both. The moment you apply a configuration that has the NView command set, all of your Linux commands are basically wiped out. Everything you used for setting your IP address, everything you used for setting your host name, all that goes away, and it's basically replaced by, in some cases, just the default values for NView. Okay, so very important. You could use one or the other, but not both together. Okay, I'm gonna do some demonstrations of how that works. Okay, now Onyx is a multi-tiered command set. The Cumulus command set is flat. What that means is that you don't have to enter different modes like a configuration mode, monitoring mode, and so forth for commands. You basically just execute the commands and you get yourself the output. Now, they are separated different groups. We have ones for configuration, monitoring, setting the management devices, and then what they call the action ones. We're going to be talking about all those different command sets. Now, Cumulus is very powerful. Cumulus is also very irritating. Reason being is that you could execute a command, or you can initiate a command, if I use the right terminology, initiate a command, and whatever action you've asked to take doesn't actually take place until you apply the configuration. So the commands go into a sort of like, you view it as a queue. And in that queue, you can go in, if you, let's say, mistype something, you can fix it. And then once you are satisfied what you have, you can then apply it. And then the changes are physically made on the switch. This is, it's again, it's very fun. It's cool to use. It is very irritating. And there's times, again, where I'll be making changes on my switch, and then I go to apply it, and I'll just get a stream of errors. I'm like, great, what is it? Now, I can go in, I can unset certain commands that I had initiated, and sometimes it'll fix it. Other times, I can't figure out what's wrong. What you can do in that case, and don't be afraid to do this, is you can type in this little command over here, nv-config detach. What that does is it takes all the commands that you've initiated. Changes have not been made to switches yet. It takes them out of the queue, and it basically clears your entire queue, so you can start from scratch again. I do that probably 10 times a day, if not more. Cumulus is it's an irritating operating system. It's great when it works, but it is irritating when you're trying to get it to something you can't figure it out. Okay, so don't be afraid to just detach configuration. And once you reboot the switch, I believe those are just cleared out. Mike, you have a question?
Is there a way to reattach them once you detach them? I haven't found one.
Well, you could actually see them. So what you can do is you absolutely can.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to show you how to do it. I have yet to find anybody that has successfully done this. Okay. Yeah, it's 100% possible. I'll show you. It's not hard to do. It's just so confusing to manage. I don't particularly find it to be useful. We'll show you once we get to the actual portion, like the demonstration portion of this exercise. Then I'll show you guys exactly how it works. Like I said, if there is anybody that has successfully done this, I'll be, please let me know. I can do it. I just can't do it consistently. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about that. So let's start off. Actually, we got to our little demonstration here. Let's get away from the slide set over here, and let's go directly to my screens. Oh, God damn it! Of course, I forgot to do this. Shoot. Sorry about that. I had meant for this to be done by the time we got back, and of course, I forgot to hit Y for yes. Okay, we'll get back to this in about 10 minutes. Sorry about that. I had meant for us to have a perfectly working switch here, a brand new switch. Okay, we'll just move forward, and then I can come back to this in a couple of minutes. Because all I'm going to do is I'm just reinstalling the operating system. Actually, let's look at the screen here real quick. So it went out to the web server, it downloaded the file, and it just does the installation itself. There's no interaction that's required from the customer right now. It just goes out, it does its booting, it does the installation on the SSD, and then you're good to go after that. Okay, any other comments or any other questions right now? Did I miss anybody's questions here? Okay, Q9AS68A. Can we connect with the Electra array? I mean, you have to go look at the Electra document. I don't know exactly which cable that is. So like I mentioned, you have when you first initiate commands, they go into that queue, and then you can either modify them or then execute them by do the nv-config apply. There's also another command that's called nv-config save. What that does is that nv-config save, which is, by the way, the apply and the save are two different commands. The apply actually makes the changes to the switch. The nv-config save saves all the commands that were executed to the startup.yaml file, which is a very important file. That's in /etc nview.d. This should be preserved on a fairly frequent basis. What I mean is you go to your switch, you can ask the SCP to your switch, grab that file, mark a date on it, and make sure you have that handy in the event that you ever need to recover. Okay, that's a very important file to have. Other thing I suggest people do is create a systemp. All you do is type in cl-support, or there's a newer one that's available. It's what is it? NV action generate tech support or something like that. The CL support is the exact same thing. It just creates a systemp of the file, and of course move that off the switch just in case you ever need to recover from them. With Cumulus 5.6, the config apply, the nv-config apply, and the nv-config save were two separate commands. Once you move to 5.9.1, okay, they have this new command. It's nv set system config autosave. So the autosave automatically does the apply and a save. So when you type in nv config apply, it'll also do nv config save to make sure your startup.yaml file is always kept up to date.
Now, a quick comment.
Yes, sir.
On switches generally, it's when you're using an NOS like Onyx was, it applies immediately, but if you don't save it, you've always got the option to reboot to revert.
Yes.
When you do an autosave, you lose that option because it automatically saves.
That is correct.
So just cautionary, it's a personal choice.
Yes.
That people can go with, but be aware that you do not have the option to reboot to revert to where you were.
That is correct. With 591, I believe it's 591 and moving forward. If it's not 591, it's 510. This is enabled by default. Okay. I mean, that reversion process, I mean, we don't see it happen as often. I know personal preference, it's something you do. This was something we were finding customers forgetting to do. They're forgetting to save. As a matter of fact, I myself was forgetting to save sometimes with 5.6. Okay, this over here takes away that responsibility. So if you do an nv-config apply, it'll automatically save. Okay, let's see. Most people are used to having to do a write memory or save. Okay, yeah, good. Yep, you're right. Just in case, again, this will save you one step. Okay, kind of a simple question. When do I do nv-config apply? When I do, still do. Okay. So no, actually not a bad question at all. I think it's actually a perfectly reasonable question. Okay, if you do not have if you do not have the nv set system config autosave state enabled on your switch, then you have to do both, the nv config apply and the nv config save. If you do have the nv set system config autosave state enabled, then you just have to do nv config apply. That will do both. It'll do the application onto the switch ports, and it'll do the saving to the startup.yaml file. Okay, is there any NV file directly copy to an external file share? I mean, you can write a script. You can write a Python script that does that, I assume. Okay, you can have that.
This isn't autosave default now?
It is. I just said that. Yep, with 591. 5.6, it was not.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, 591, it is there as a default. Okay. By the way, as a word of caution to people, the command itself, the nv set system config autosave state enabled, that command is one of the ones that has changed from 5.6. It's changed in 5.9 as well. Okay, so it was one command in 5.6. It is different in 5.9.1. If you save your command set and you upgrade your switch, okay, by putting a new file, and then you restore your file commands, it should automatically convert this for you. The only switch we saw an issue with when you move from 5.9.1 to 5.10 or 5.6 to 5.10, I believe, was the 3420. Okay, it was an open case that we had with Mellanox, as a matter of fact. All it did was, I believe I think it forgot one of these delimiters. I think it might be the enabled one. And so when you would go to apply the configuration, it would just come up with an error. So you'd have to just unset the command and then just reinitiate it and you're fine. Again, it took two seconds to recover from. Okay, but this command has changed from 5.6 to 5.9.1 to 5.10. Cumulus doesn't believe in making things easy for us. Okay.
Yeah, a little sub-note there.
Yes, Joe.
If you don't have the D at the end for enabled, it doesn't like it either. It doesn't
so
autofill it.
Yeah, so I'm not the only one who's fallen into that trap before. Yeah, I actually was trying to figure out back a couple of weeks ago, as a matter of fact, why it wasn't working, and it turns out because I forgot the D as well. So yes, it's enabled, not enable.
Yeah, not easy.
No, they can't make things easy for us. Okay, and then I mentioned to you that there's a procedure you have to follow to go to the correct version. It's modifying this file over here. It's /etc apt sources.list. I am going to show all of you how to do this. Okay, it is worth showing. And for those of you who go on to customer sites or you're a support person who works with a customer, I think that they should make this the default. Okay, they should make this something that customers should have to do. You should have to actually provide the name of the file you want to go to. Okay, if you do not modify that file and you go to upgrade your switch using the NVIDIA repository, it will go to the newest version. If there's there is a 5.11 that's available. If you want to go to 5.10, okay, and you do not modify this file to let them know that you want to go to 5.10, it'll go to 5.11. Can you revert back? The answer is no. You have to save your configuration, install the new version of the operating system, the 5.10, and then put your configuration back. Which again, it's not a large recovery method, but it's just long enough. Let's put it that way. Okay, and then there's 3 commands that you run. Okay, you have to do this first one, NV action upgrade system package to latest dry run. Okay, what that does is it downloads the metadata to your switch, and it just takes a look at all your packages, and it does like a simulated upgrade to make sure there's no issues. If there are no issues, you can upgrade just fine. If there's issues, stop. Nice thing about the Cumulus switches, by the way, is that they're running a standard Linux, which means that you can basically install as many third-party programs as you want onto them, and no one will be any the wiser. That's the good thing about them. Anybody want to know what the bad thing about the Cumulus switches is? The exact same thing, that you can install any program from anywhere that you know nothing about onto your switch. And it'll work just fine. If you go to upgrade, do we guarantee that those programs are going to work just fine? The answer is no. So if a customer calls and says that, hey, I downloaded this program from the internet that I found on a Reddit page, it worked, and now it's not working after an upgrade. Can you fix it for me? Nope. Okay, so we don't support these third-party software packages. If you want to go back a version, we can certainly help with that, but we're not supporting the actual software itself, the third-party software we know nothing about. Okay. All right. Okay, I think we're almost done. Okay, so that's been about 8 minutes so far, so not too bad, not too bad. Okay, so I think about another minute or two, we should be ready to go with our actual live demo. Okay. Oh, by the way, one last thing. After you are done upgrading the switches, always give them a reboot. Okay. Couple of things. First of all, we want to make sure your switch comes back up after you do that. If you're, by the way, one side note, if you are in an MLAG pair, okay, there is a very specific procedure we have on how to upgrade your switches. Do not do your primary switch first. There is a primary and a secondary. Just like in Onyx, there's a primary and a secondary. I probably shouldn't jump to the MLAG section quite yet. But suffice it to say, we'll leave it at there is a very specific procedure you have to follow if you want to do an online upgrade. Do not do both switches at the same time. There was a support person who actually had I felt bad for them. I was ready to strangle them, but they contacted me 5 different times before I even got up in the morning. And then they Slack messaged me and Teams messaged me because they were at a customer site. They upgraded from 5.6 to 5.9.1 user repository on both switches at the same time and corrupted both operating systems. And they said, well, what do I do now? I don't have much good news for you, unfortunately. So it took a little while. We managed to get them back up and running again. So luckily, he saved the CL support file off the switch. So we were able to rebuild the switches again. Okay, but it's again an additional pain that they didn't need. Okay, Pawan asking, is there any command to revert the configuration? When you say revert the configuration, what are you referring to? Do you mean is revert the, when you say the physical command set? Pawan?
Actually, once we, do any configuration, we write down the, and we config apply. But just because of like the previous command, the configuration we have done, there is something issue, that is causing. So if you want to revert back that configuration that we have just recently done, so is there any way if we can do that?
If you've already applied it, then
Yes.
no, unfortunately, you can unset it. That's the only reverting process. But if you have 20 commands, you have to go back and unset those 20 commands or undo whatever you did. If you have not applied it and you've just initiated it and it's in the queue, you can do an nvconfig detach.
Okay.
No, good question. Good question. Yeah, Cumulus doesn't make everything easy for you. Okay, let me do a quick check and see if things are back. We are good. Okay, beautiful. All right, let me just get back, make sure there's nothing good, and we can finish up this slide. Okay, yeah, okay, good. I think we're good on this slide. All right, let's go do some live stuff. How does that sound for everybody? Okay, now this is a brand new build of the operating system. I did put 5.10 here. Okay, originally I was going to put 5.6 and do that whole upgrade, but I just don't think that's beneficial to everybody. What I am going to do before we leave today is I'm going to go from 5.10 to 5.11 just so I can show you how to do that upgrade. We don't support 5.11 yet, but I just want to use this for the purpose of showing you how to modify the sources.list command to get the proper operating system downloaded to your switch. I don't know why it is that there isn't an NV command that does this. I don't have an explanation for why. That actually might be something we want to consider putting in as an enhancement. So when you're doing your upgrade, you actually tell them what version you want rather than have to actually modify a file to do that. That's something that's going to be on our list of things. Okay. Now, when you log into a switch for the first time, which by the way, this has to be done through Serial. Okay. The username is Cumulus. Anyone guess what the password is? Cumulus. Excellent. Now, once you log in, you're going to have to change your password. Okay, and they're now following a new enhanced password scheme. Okay, but take a look at the prompt. It says your current password. This is not prompting you for the new password. It's for your current password, which is Cumulus. Now it's going to ask you for your new password. Okay, you have to retype it. I think this is going to work. Come on, work. Yeah, they're following this new enhanced security scheme where you have to have a capital letter. You have to have one of those symbols like a @ sign or a pound sign. It has to be a certain length and so on and so forth. Okay, this shouldn't be new to anybody. Okay, this is specific to 5.9.1 and all newer versions. Okay, there's no way to get around this either. 5.6 did not have this enhanced security scheme. 5.9.1, everything moving forward does. Okay, so you have to put in a password that's approved by them. Okay, now once you get in, okay, if you notice the prompt is a $. For everybody who's a Linux person, and I know we have a lot of them out there. Okay, that means that you are not at root. # denotes that you're at the super user level, if you will. Now, as an aside, okay, we actually do not recommend for customers to log in as a root. It is possible to log in as root because it's standard Linux, so we can certainly do that. We don't recommend for customers to do that. reason being is security reasons. In my lab, do I log in as root? Oh, you better believe it. And you want to know why? Because again, I don't feel like typing in sudo. I've done the math. I've figured by not typing in sudo over the course of a day, I save about 6 minutes. Okay, so that's my only reason. So if you see this $sign, that just means you do not have the super user requirements. But it is possible to log in as root. Okay, let's see. Does Cumulus support all the common authentication like TACACS, AAA, Radius? Yes, the answer is yes. Okay, so that's for, yes, does Cumulus support all the common authentication protocols? So yes, they do. Okay, Luis, is there any situation that should be recommended to convert on a switch to Cumulus? No. Luis, I went over this much earlier. So no, there is no situation right now. As of December 18th, what year are we? 2024. There is no situation. Nobody should be converting. Please do not convert anything. Okay, the word conversion is removed from the dictionary. No converting. Okay, is that clear? Excellent. Okay, all right. Just to make sure, there is no converting of the switches. Okay, what is this version? What version? The version on the switch right now? It's 5.10. Okay. NV show version. Sorry, NV show system. There we go. Okay. So if you notice, all my commands that I'm typing in start with NV. So NV, so that's the NV command set, the NVU command set. Okay, NV show system. Now, all of your switch ports are called your interfaces. So you type in NV show interface. Okay. Okay, what is this? Okay, it's kernel version. I have no idea. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Oh, okay. I guess that's a kernel version. I have no idea. Okay, let's see. One, if we do a downgrade, for example, 5.11 to 5.10, if there's some commands that have changed. Oh, interesting question. Actually, very interesting question there. Juan's on the ball here. Look at this. Okay, so I'm going to put a like here. Okay, so Juan's my student of the day. Okay, if there are some commands that change, what's going to happen is you go to apply, you're going to get errors. There's not a huge number of commands that have changed. There's just enough commands that have changed to annoy me, but it'll come up. It'll tell you what those commands are. It'll say this command not found or something like that. Then what you would have to do is physically just remove it from the queue, and then you can apply it from there. Excellent question. Absolutely excellent question.
Hey, Vishnu?
Yes, sir.
Interesting phenomena that we've been seeing as well, and it's showing here, is
What's
your ETH0 is coming up at 100 meg, which means that your MLAG is never going to work.
Oh, that's interesting.
We've been forcing to 1 gig.
Huh. You know, I haven't actually noticed that.
We've been seeing that on the past couple. Most of the time, just unplugging and replugging will do it at site.
You know, it's funny, Joe. You should let me know about this. I didn't notice this.
We just ran into it this past week, and I didn't.
Oh, okay. No, that's actually an excellent point.
We've seen it a couple times, and
okay, Nithy, could you do me a huge favor? Can you note that down? Huh.
Yes.
That's actually a great observation. Okay, we're going to look into that one. Nithy, do me a favor. When we go to 5.11, let's see if that resolves it.
My mic cut out there.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm saying when we go to 5.11, I'm going to see if that gets resolved. Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, because if it's not 1 gig, it's not going to come up.
Oh no, 100%, 100% correct. Okay, so this is
and
what
for people deploying look for that.
No, very good point. Very good point. I did not notice this. Okay. All right. Let's see. Bruce saw the 100 meg ETH0 last week too. All right, guys, do me a favor. If you see issues like this in the future, please let me know. Okay. I guess I didn't notice this to now. Out of curiosity, Joe, is this specific to one switch, like a 2010 or?
I think we were working with a 2010, but I think Bruce was working with, I want to say the 2100.
Okay, that I don't like. Okay, 2010.
I can't swear to that.
Yeah, Bruce just said 2010. Okay. All right. I've got some tests to do after this session.
Okay, so we're going to get in the field, unplugging and replugging may take it, but we've been forcing it to 1 gig, and that seems to resolve it.
So
I don't like forcing it, but
no, I don't. No, and nor should you be. Yeah, there were some auto neg issues we had seen previously in like 5.6, but they were with the data ports, not so they were the ETH0 port. They fixed the majority of those auto neg issues. On the majority, they fixed all of them we saw in 5.9.1 moving forward. But this is the first time I've seen anything with the ETH0 port. Okay, that's a good thing to note down. It is noted down. We're going to take a look at this.
Related to the 1 gig transceiver thing.
No, this is the actual embedded RJ45.
But it's a management port.
It's a management port, right? But we're not using that 1 gig transceiver with it. So this is going directly to one of our top of rack Aruba switches. Okay, this is something we've noted down. We're going to take a look at this. Okay. All right. No, thank you for bringing that up. Okay. So now, everybody,
I do see it on my 2010 as well.
Okay. All right. Like I said, we've noted this down, Barry. We're going to take a look in the other switches. Oh, what the hell? Why not just do it real quick? Now I'm curious.
Other switches are 1 gig, Vish.
Okay, so it's only the 2010.
It looks like either the 2010. I haven't looked at the 2100 yet, but I'll look.
You can try forcing it from the Aruba side.
I'm looking on a 3700C, and
it's fine on those other switches.
Okay, all right. So this is something that's 2010 specific. Okay, all right. Nidhi, you know that down already. We're gonna take a look at it after the meeting. Okay, good find, Joe. I appreciate you pointing that out.
So if that's the case, I mean, when you set up MLAT and using the MGMT 0 for a backup, not going to work, right? For the backup.
I mean, if there's any type of speed compatibility, then yeah, there is potential you're going to see an issue with it.
Yeah, you won't get your heartbeat.
Okay.
Potentially. Yeah. Potentially. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we might run into that issues with the case yesterday. I just got an update.
Yeah.
But I don't really know detail yet. But it sounds like we hit that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll have to run some more tests in our lab for this. If there's connectivity between them. Now, I'm not going to even conjecture on it. Let me actually go try this in the lab, and we'll, if need be, we can obviously come up with an advisory for it.
So, okay. Joe, when you see this 100 M for the Ethernet 0, can you add H into the switch with the 100 M?
Have not tried. We've always been console connected.
Okay, guys, let's take this one offline.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so NVConfig interfaces. So these are all interfaces that are on the ports. These are the switch ports themselves. Okay, SWP, or as I say, the swap ports. So swap 1, 2, through all the way through 22. These are, SWP stands for switch port. Okay, so switch port 1, switch port 2, so on and so forth. This is a 2010, so I just happen to know off the top of my head the first 18 ports are QSFP 20. I'm sorry, SFP 28 ports. Last 4 the QSFP 28 ports. All right, by default, okay, when you first load up the switch, you're going to notice a couple of things. The MTU is set to 9216. Okay, that's expected. That the MTU is set to the maximum by default on the switches. All the switch ports are up, and auto neg is configured on everybody. So you see all the LDP information over here, and you see the logins at the proper speeds up here. Okay, that will change, and I'm going to explain to you what happens and what the circumstances of that changing. Okay, but by default, on these switches, everything is up. Once you start configuring the switch using NView, you're going to notice that all changes. Okay, so let's just do something real quick. Now, in 5.6, let me actually step back a little bit. In 5.6, as I had mentioned, there were auto negotiation issues that we saw, which is why in our quick start guide for 5.6, I recommended that everybody actually hard set the ports to the proper speeds. With 5.9.1, they fixed that. 5.10, 5.11, it just seems like, again, it's been continued forward and the fixes are all in place. We no longer recommend the
hard set the port.
Oh, that was weird. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just fine.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. For some reason, my headset just cut out. So I apologize for that.
Teams.
Okay. Yes. No, it's ever since we got this new Teams, we've had nonstop issues. But anyways, with 5.9.1, hard setting the ports can actually have some negative consequences. One of which is for some of the higher speed links, which require training. If you have the ports hard set, that training portion, the link training does not take place. So auto neg is going to be required with this. Okay, that's just something we have moving forward now. Okay, I would like for everybody to keep the ports, or when you configure the ports, set them up to be auto negotiate. This will help resolve a lot of our future problems. You should be using 5.6 anyways. Okay, obviously if you are, then we don't have much of a choice for those guys. Okay, but with 5.9.1 above, please auto neg for everybody. Okay, so let me just start off by showing you how you look at your configuration. So the command is nvconfig show. If you type in nvconfig show, it'll show you configuration, but it has it in this is the YAML format. You can actually output to different things if you like JSON. Any scripters out there? -O is output JSON. And so that gives you your JSON output, which makes things really easy for passing. Okay, so if you're using a script to pass for data, okay, JSON is a great format. If you just want the commands themselves, just type in -O commands. And this shows you what commands are run on your switch right now. Okay, now, one of the things which I had in the previous page was one of our exercises is to set up the ETH0 port, which is what you should always do once you actually go and set up your switch from the console. So once you install the operating system, you change the password. Next thing you should do is you should modify ETH0 to a static IP address. Okay, and then SSH to your switch from there. If you wanted to find out if this is DHCP is enabled by default, you want to find out what your IP address is, you do ipconfig-a. This looks familiar. It's because it's a standard Linux command. So DHCP, this is your address. I don't like using DHCP. In our lab, everything is static. And so what I do is I set the IP address, gateway, all those sort of things, and then I'll just SSH to switch from there. Okay, so first thing, let's actually go ahead and do that. All right, now there's a little gotcha here, and I'm going to show people what it is. Okay, so DHCP, as is shown, this is something that's new to 5.9.1. It's not in 5.6.0. In 5.9.1, DHCP is set by default. You're going to get a little bit of an issue if you try and set the ETH0 IP address directly. I'm just going to do it to show everybody. NV set interface, ETH0 IP address, which one is 106? Sec here. It's 5.106. Sorry, just give me 1 sec. Okay. So this is the command, nvset interface ETH0 IP address. I'm giving an IP address. And if you notice, it went through just fine.
No,
if I want to, I'm going to quiet down. Geez, I'm getting there. You're ruining my surprise here for everybody.
Sorry.
Okay. Geez, Joe. Yeah. Okay. NV config diff. So this is what shows you what's in the queue. Okay. This shows you in your queue right now. So I've initiated this command. I have not executed yet. If I do NV config apply, what you're going to get over here is an error message. Joe of whom had ruined my surprise. Okay. So this is one of the annoying things about Cumulus. Is it's going to give you this error. It's a little bit of an obscure error. It says DHCP has too many properties. What happened is you have to unset the DHCP on the switch, and then you have to set the static IP address from there. So the way that you unset the DHCP is to, well, unset the DHCP. NV unset interface eth0 IP address DHCP. Okay. Let's take a look at what's in that queue again. So notice now in the queue, there's two commands. You're unsetting DHCP and you're setting the IP address. If I do NV config apply, you will notice, hopefully, that this works. There we go. Okay. Okay, great. So IP address is all saved. So that's great. Let me just do a quick copy and paste of the gateway in the DNS. So test 2010. Oh. So I'm just in the host name of the switch. Let me just apply this. Okay, and all this should go through without an issue, and I'm just going to SSH this switch. Okay, perfect. Let's log in as Cumulus. And we're in. Okay, so I recommend working with the SSH or working through SSH rather than working through serial console, mainly because the serial console will end up, if you try to copy and paste things, it could wrap around because you're limited by the number of characters you can have per line. But let me change these settings here so they're a little bit larger. Okay. All right, Chan, how's that? Gotta make sure the old man's happy. Okay, good.
So yes. So right now the speed of your MGMT0 is right now 1 gig or 100.
Let's find out. I'm actually very curious about this.
Yeah, because I'm just curious if we are able to add into it if you have 100. Oh, okay.
It's at 100. I mean, I don't know how I missed this. Okay.
That's 100. That still allow you to add. Okay.
No, you can definitely do it. I'd like. I'm not. We'll try the MLIG portion out. If we have time, we'll try the MLIG portion out. I'm curious about that myself. Okay. Ignore the 100 meg portion for right now. Like I said, we'll verify this in our lab. Okay, so we're in the switch right now. For anybody who's looking to do NTP, which I mean, it's a pretty important thing, especially for those who are doing DHCI, it's a requirement. Okay, the way to unset and reset the DHCP so it works, no, not DHCP, NTP so it works properly is NV unset service NTP default, because it uses the default VRFs. For those who aren't aware, we have a different virtualized routed fabric for your data network and your management network. Your NTP, our assumption is that it goes through your management network. I don't know why they have NTP set to be the default VRF, which is your data ports, but my recommendation is that we unset it from the default VRF and put it on the management VRF, both of which exist in Cumulus. In Onyx, we had an issue with this. They enabled the management VRF in a later version of firmware, and so when customers had upgraded, it ended up causing problems. Okay, in Cumulus by default we have two VRFs, and so NTP should be running on the management VRF. So NV unset service NTP default. Okay, NV set service NTP MGMT as a management VRF, and the NV config apply. Okay. Now, one other thing to notice right now, see how all the ports are now down? They were up previously. I never put them down. Okay, I never, sure. Yeah, I had never actually specified these to be down. It's once you start utilizing NView, okay, even though the ports were up by default when you first did the installation, once you enable NView, it seems like by default, it brings all the ports, admin status and operational status down. Now, let me explain what that means. The admin status is what you have set the ports to be. So you can specify port 1 to be down or up, port 2 to be down or up. Okay, that is what you have specified it to be. The operational status is what the port actually is. If there's a connection made between port 1 and whatever device is plugged into, then that'll show up as being up. And then next to it will be the speed that is negotiated at. So let me just show you an example. So let's do NV set interface. By the way, I'm using a tab key. So this is just like a standard Linux. If you don't remember the commands, which I don't, just hit the tab key. So NV set interface, hit the tab key a couple of times, and it'll show you what the next option is. You can also put a question mark over there, and that'll have further clarification. So this case, the interface ID. So swap 1, so switch port 1.
Can you use a range of ports?
You absolutely can. You 100% can. I'm just doing the first port, and I'll explain why in a couple seconds. But you can absolutely do a range of contiguous port, contiguous and consecutive ports. Yeah, you could do ports 1 through 5 if you wanted to. You could do 1, 2, 6, and 7. You could have comma separated ones, but yes, it is 100% possible to do a range of ports. Just for you, I'll do a range of ports. Okay. You do NV set interface SWP1 dash let's say 5. Okay. If I wanted to have 7, I could do comma 7. So that'll do ports 1 through 5, and then port 7, it'll skip port 6. Okay. Hit the tab key a couple of times as well. Okay. We want to do link speed. Okay. And then the options we have are auto and then everybody else. Okay. Link speed auto. Okay. Okay. So I'm looking back at this. The ports are still down. Okay. I initiated the command. Why hasn't it taken place yet? I haven't applied it.
You haven't applied.
That's right. Okay, so I did 1 through 5 and 7. Okay, you do NV config apply, and what you should find magically, once it comes up, ever it happens to come up, okay. Yeah.
I can wait. You need to run the command link stay up, right? Yep.
Oh, no, hold on.
Yep.
So if you take it, there's not not everything has a device attached. I just have to know port 1 has something. Let me just make this thing a little bit smaller here, just so we can get everything on the screen at one time. Okay, so if you notice, the operational state status for ports swap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are all set to be up. Okay, 7 is set to be up. We only notice that the operational state for port 1 is up. And I can tell you the reason why that is because that's the only one that has a device attached to it. And the device I have is at 10 gig. We did auto neg, so auto negotiate 10 gig. And we happen to know it's right. This is the LDP information. So I have a 57412 that's attached to this guy. So this is the LDP information from the adapter itself. There isn't anything plugged into ports 1 through 5 or 7. So the state is set to be up. I'm sorry, the status is set to be up on all these guys. When I do plug a device in on this guy, you'll see that the operational status will go to up as well, and it'll negotiate a speed. Okay, now let's take a look at what's on port 1. One of the questions that I got during a session I held one time is how do we tell what's attached? Like what device is it physically in that port, port 1? So you could do NV show interface SWP1, SWP1 transceiver. Is it transceiver? Pluggable. And that will tell you a little bit about the device. So SFP, it's a Molex. Let's see the vendor serial number, part number. So this isn't the HPE part number. This is just showing the vendor part number. So that tells you what type of device is plugged into it. If you want to do like a link diagnostics equivalent, which is a question that we got one time, you could do L. So this is L1, so number 1 dash show. So link level L1 show, or layer 1 show, and then you could do SWP1. Sudo L1 dash show SWP1. Take a look, see if this works. There we go. Okay, so vendor name Molex, part number. Okay, this is a 10 gig, so FEC doesn't apply to us because 25 gig and multiples of 25 gig, 10 gig, and then no issue was observed. Okay, so that's your Onyx equivalent for the diagnostics command. So like if you did a show interfaces Ethernet, whatever the port number is, link dash diagnostics, this is the equivalent of that. Okay, so things look good over here. Okay, good. So now that we've figured out what's attached there, okay, next thing we have to do is what? And by the way, you can do this for every single port if you want to. Okay, I can just specify auto neg for every single port. Okay, so ports 1 through 22. Why don't I go ahead and do that? Okay, if you're not using the port, I wouldn't normally recommend that you do this, but if I wanted to, I could. Okay, let's do an nv config show-o commands just to see how this is all in the running configuration. So right over here. So if you take a look, you'll see supports SWP 1 through 5, 7, link speed auto. Okay, now suppose that I wanted to see just the settings for that one port, so port 1. Okay, if you do an nv config find SWP1-O commands, this will show you all the lines in that running configuration that have SWP1 in them. So we just see these 2 lines up here. Okay, that's what's shown. This is like the equivalent of the Onyx command show running configuration, interface Ethernet, and then whatever the device is. this is the exact same thing. If you want to do the Linux equivalent, okay, just do a grep. You could do nv config show-o commands grep swp1, and that gives you basically the same thing. Okay, but what this does is this just takes a look at any line that has this in there. Okay, and it'll output the whole command itself, including everything else besides that. Like this is the range of ports from 1 to 5. The find will just show you the specific commands that have SWP1 in them. Okay. All right. So now what we've done, okay, so we've set the port speeds for just this one device. Okay. Next thing we have to do is we have to set the VLANs.